choosing to deliver her felt like the last act as her mom that I could really take part in. And so genuinely, I think going through labor, delivering her, holding her, like having molds of her little feet and footprints, that was major in my processing of everything. That was so critical for me.
Hey everybody, it's me, Shay. Welcome back to Grief Witnessed, where we remember, where we tell the stories, and where grief is allowed to exist without fixing it. Today I am here with my friend Abby.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, Abby Howard. She's part of the Unplanned podcast with her husband Matt, and I was on their podcast. Was it like September of last year, I think?
Time
September,
is
October.
So scary.
I know.
Maybe, yeah. Because
And-
that sounds right, because your daughter was like 3 months old.
Let's see, in September, she was born in May. I think she was like 5.
Maybe like August, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she
Yeah.
was a little older.
So, yeah, but I know that was a hard time for you.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're talking about child loss in the form of miscarriage.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's honestly probably why I don't remember what it was, because I feel
Yeah.
like there's like a black hole in those months for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot going on for you. I think we recorded the podcast, and then like 2 weeks later, I think I saw that
Mm-hmm.
you guys had your miscarriage. And that's something I want to talk to you about today, because I feel like a lot of times miscarriages don't get talked about very often as like loss and grief. But I know that there's so much that comes with it, because when you get pregnant, you immediately have so many dreams for your baby.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, like, tell me about Emerson, about finding out you're pregnant and finding out that you're having a girl, because you have 2 boys.
Yes.
And you're pregnant with a 3rd boy.
Yes.
I just saw.
Yes. Okay, well, there's a lot there. So just for a little backstory, we had our first son, and then our second son came. We always knew we wanted more kids, but came like quicker than we were, would have planned. And so I found myself pregnant. I think it was like 4 months postpartum, and I just had a surgery. And so I was like, I don't even know if I can like carry this baby. And everything about that pregnancy that was like not part of like how we would have written our story was perfect. Like he was everything was textbook. And so we're like, okay. And he's amazing. Obviously we love him so, like he's so meant to be. We just didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, with our 3rd, we are going to plan this perfectly. We're going to really think about this. We're going to avoid summer Arizona babies. We're going to not do that. And we're going to make this age gap like exactly what we would have wanted to do, because, having 2 babies essentially at one time, I was like, man, I feel like, there's some certain mom guilt that can creep in. Like, did I miss some of your baby, like infant experience? Because I was like pregnant and like, doing all these different things and then introducing another sibling so quickly. In hindsight, it was all perfect and beautiful. And like, they are the best of friends and our family feels so right. It was just something that we hadn't envisioned for ourselves. So for this 3rd pregnancy, we were like, we're going to do everything. Like, I'm going to count the months. We're going to know, and we're like going to intentionally like do the family planning. We got pregnant, and we like everything was going so normal. Like we had done everything that we'd done with my previous pregnancies. And so with a typical pregnancy, you do like 1 ultrasound in the first trimester, 1 in the second, and 1 in the 3rd, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was fine and normal. And then we show up for my 17-week, just a routine appointment. And this is the part of my story that I like have so much like specific, it gets so much emotion out of me, because it was literally like the rug had just been ripped out from under me, because I just am expecting a typical routine appointment. And it's not like I feel like every pregnant woman can recognize like there's a certain time that's like kind of scary in pregnancy, in the sense of like, man, like their life is so fragile. scary statistics. And so we had gotten out of that as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And we were just coasting at this point. We were in the blissful stage of second trimester. And the nurse couldn't find a heartbeat. She brought the doctor in. The doctor couldn't find a heartbeat. But they were still like reassuring at this point. They were like, I wouldn't worry too much. Like, we're just going to get you in for a quick ultrasound. And they take us in and like her little body's so still. And the ultrasound tech, she's like, I don't have good news for you. And I'll just like never forget those words. And I just kept saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I don't say that. Like I just don't say that. But I just felt so like this is that point in that room in the office was where I feel like my life split for a little bit. And I've been like desperately try to get those two things back together ever since, because it's really uncomfortable to live in that way where you're kind of just like feel like you had one foot in one life and one foot in reality essentially. And so then she just asked me, she was like, did you do genetic testing? Like asking these questions. And we're like, no, we just, we're waiting for the anatomy scan, like all these things. And so then I was just like it was such a disconnected feeling going back to the office. I had to go back into the room with my doctor to make arrangements that no mom ever imagines making, and they're grim. The options are grim at this point. They gave me like 3 different options for like what to do. But then I just remember you sit down and she's like, hey, we saw gender on the anatomy scan. Do you want me to tell you? And I was like, yeah. And then she told us that we had a daughter, and that just added a different complexity that I wouldn't have expected to like the sorrow that we were experiencing. But that was like a really weird time because I was still just so in disbelief. Like the rest of that day, I remember everything I did, but I continued to do like normal things before we went to the hospital to deliver her. And so it was weird to think of like me like going to Target with my kids after getting this news and dropping stuff off at my sister-in-law's house, like all these things. I was like, what was I doing? Like, but there's just a certain element of like that shock that it felt comforting to continue to just like do these things. But then it just really hit me by the end of the day when I was realizing that I was going to have to go to the hospital and do something I just never, ever imagined myself having to do. So that was like a little bit backstory on like getting pregnant with her and finding out about her being a girl and then naming her what happened that day. Like just after processing that we had a daughter and then we lost her and then naming her, that order was just never what you envision, So
Tell me about her name. How did you come up with her name?
So we kind of like have always like dreamed about baby names. And when we were pregnant with her, actually before we even tried getting pregnant, we had like a girl name and a boy name. We just really liked that name, Emerson. And so there was some little discussion after that day. It's like, okay, well, if we use this name, then, because it wasn't like we'd attached it to her yet because we didn't even know like if we were having a boy or a girl, then we don't get to experience like a living daughter with this name that we like was our first choice name. But then it just felt so right that it was for her. Yeah. And so she was just our first name for our girl. Now her middle name was really special to me because her middle name is Nicole, which I actually had a stillborn sister before me, and her name was Emily Nicole. And so it felt like honoring to her life, and like they kind of had, similar tragic endings to their lives to have that name. And then also another benefit is that in the hospital when she was born, her the nurse that helped us was like an angel to us, and it just so happened that her name was Nicole too. Oh. So it just felt so right to give her that middle name. But yeah, definitely heavy naming and coming to terms with all of that in hindsight.
How was Matt with you for all of this? Like, how did he do?
You know, they actually prepared us in the hospital. I can't, no one wants to be in the hospital having this experience, but I can't say enough good things about the medical team and the empathy and compassion they showed for us the entire time. And because at first, I'm just like completely like not able to be comforted by him at all. And he is just very much like, how do I want to take care of you? I have no like wheelhouse for this, you know? And so, like that day, I just really wanted to be alone. And so he was like, you know, kind of left on his own in a way to like, I had no capacity for even thinking about how he was doing. And so then we're like in the hospital and I could just tell like there's this, like I can't wrap my head around it, but for sure I can tell that he's like not wrapping his head around what's happening. And someone came in, she had also experienced like a late pregnancy loss, and she spoke to us. So she was just had so much wisdom, and she was like talking about her experience. She's like, I just remember like, I was like, why is my husband not sad? Like I'm missing our son. Like I'm broken. I'm like broken like I've never been broken before. And I looked at him and I feel so alone. And she said it wasn't until like, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks later, she just heard like a little like sniffle in bed next to her. And then she realized like he was doing everything he could to take care of her. And then it all hit him. That's exactly what happened to Matt. Yeah. A lot of moms of loss could maybe relate to that in this sense of like, you might feel like this disconnect in your marriage for a little bit there because it's like you've carried that baby that whole time. You've had that connection and then you feel the difference immediately.
Yeah.
Whereas like they had like you and then they feel the difference in you and there's just a different degree there. And I think it just takes a little bit more time for that to like all hit them as well. And so she just gave us such a good picture of like, or expectation really of like, okay, he's going to take care of you until you get on your feet again. And then he's going to experience it. And I feel like that was the only way he survived, especially having 2 little kids.
Yeah.
Like if I had gone, if he had behaved like I was after the loss, we would have had to have shipped our kids off somewhere because I wasn't checked out to the world and checked out and my marriage, checked out to my kids for like every bit of like 4 weeks. Really for 2 weeks, I like did nothing. Yeah. And then for, you know, by 4 weeks, I was like doing basic stuff to like, like, I don't know, like I was actually maybe cooked a meal. Well, you know what I mean? Like not doing much at all, like as far as like being fun and interacting with our kids. And so there was also guilt associated with that. But he was just, you know, focusing on me, focusing on them, doing everything so I could have space. And then like 4 to 6 weeks later, I could see that like hit him. But he was my rock through it all. I just can't thank him enough. I just remember one night I was literally like, I had finally brought myself to shower and I was like, well, that was all I could do today. And I had like sopping wet hair and it's a tangled mess. He just comes in and starts brushing it and blow drying it. And it's just so sweet. And it was just such a picture of like what our marriage looked like at that point, you know?
So at 17 weeks delivering her, like, I don't know what that's like. Did you get to see her at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something that I like talk about with caution because everyone's experience is so different. And I don't want to like seem like I'm judging anyone that's put in that position. Like you do what you have to do. Like and you don't even know what you need at that point.
Yeah.
Because I felt so thrown off by the options I was presented. I'm really so grateful for the decision that I made. I don't know that I would have made it every time just because you're so thrown off. I mean, I don't know how graphic you want to get, but like, are you okay?
I'm fine. And if listeners can proceed with caution.
Yeah. So one of the options was to essentially like a procedure similar like to an abortion. Like they the fetus would be dismembered.
Is that a DNC?
Yes. Yeah. But I think early DNCs probably look a little different than later DNCs in the sense like there's more of a body there, and then there's like, you know, you don't have a body to see afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's not intact. And so there's that option. I think a lot of times they put you to sleep and you just wake up and it's like done.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, it's quick.
Hate making that decision.
It's quick and you just go to sleep and you wake up and it's done. The next was to deliver her, like a typical vaginal delivery. And I say typical, but there's some eerie and just very grim differences.
Yeah.
And then the third option was a C-section, which I didn't think about that option much because that was the most invasive and it just didn't feel necessary at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I chose to deliver her for, I honestly think it was just grace from my doctor, just being like, she like handled this conversation so professionally, but with so much compassion, because I was literally like, yeah, just put me to sleep. Gosh dang it. Like, I don't even want to like even fathom this. Yeah. And so, and then she was like, yep, that's totally an option. She's like, walking me through like what this would look like and asking, like I had to ask questions I never thought I'd have to ask and think about things like I just never thought I'd have to think about. And so choosing to deliver her felt like the last act as her mom that I could really take part in. And so genuinely, I think going through labor, delivering her, holding her, like having molds of her little feet and footprints, that was major in my processing of everything. That was so critical for me. I would never ask another mom to do that, but I just would share my experience and saying like how critical, I'm like snotting everywhere, that was for me in processing and understanding the gravity of the loss. Because I think that if I would have been asleep and just woken up and just felt like my empty womb, like that would have been very disconnecting for me and an already really disconnecting experience. So like delivering, like going through contractions and like giving birth to her and everything, like as dark as it was still really healing. And so I like look back at that as like, I'm so grateful that I made that decision. I wasn't making it for those reasons at that time, but now I'm like, that was really foundational for like the grief that I was about to experience.
Yeah. Well, the way you put that as like, oh my gosh, the last act is her mom.
Yeah.
Holy, that got me right in the heart.
Yeah.
Do you want me to grab you tissues?
I might need some for your viewers' sake.
I see why you always have tissues on your podcast.
I cry all the time.
Let me go get some.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Were you able to, I don't know what people, honestly, I haven't had someone on the podcast yet that like had a miscarriage and like able to deliver.
Yeah.
Do you like, did you guys have a funeral or what does that look like?
So we did not, I think at that point, like actually thinking about like talking about Emerson on this podcast made me specifically like think about that more. I think the thought of planning and putting together something like that at that stage was just so lost on me at that point. Like I was like, we had just named her, like we had like it was so lost on me. And so I carried like a certain guilt about that, like probably a couple months after having her, because it didn't even necessarily cross our mind. My mom, my sweet mom, she had walked through something so similar and she just really like kind of assuaged that guilt. And like, she's like, really, funerals are to honor and to remember and commemorate like a life. There's so many ways to do that. And so, I just needed some time to think about how to do that. So yeah, this is like more dark than I've ever necessarily, like more in the weeds, but they have options like what to do with the body.
Yeah.
Every hospital has different options, I'm sure. But ours was, I think they offered like, they could send it to a site, the body. They could, I think you could just take the body. You would have to go through some more like legal stuff, but you could take it with you in some capacity, or they had an option where they would, so before this, we had to make decisions about autopsy, which were things I was just kind of like, walk me through the different types of autopsies for like a fetus like this. Like there was just so many different things. Also, I think this is different state to state, but like you don't get like a death certificate in the state of Arizona, if I'm correct, until the fetus is 20 weeks.
Okay.
And so we were like 17 and a half. So a lot of this felt like it was hard to know how to proceed because like to us, obviously she was our daughter. She was alive. But then there's like all these other, you know, in the eyes of like the state, like what does this look like? Like there's no official record of her life at all. And so once again, it just put more of like responsibility on us to, you know, remember her life and recognize her. But the other option that we thought was very beautiful was they would cremate the body and then sprinkle the ashes in a special spot. What's really beautiful is that this is gonna make me cry even more. On the way home from the hospital, like after like the darkest part of all this, obviously she hadn't been cremated, she hadn't been sprinkled, but the location where they were going to sprinkle her ashes, there was a rainbow over it. And then it just gave so much peace for that decision because we just never wanted to be put in that position. There's not a lot of rainbows in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, like that's where she will be. And it just felt so beautiful and special. But yeah, so those were our three options. And so we didn't choose that. We've come up with so many ways since then to kind of talk about her, honor her, and like commemorate her life. And I feel like it was like a little better because I just couldn't even fathom like thinking who to invite and like where to hold this. We're the first people in our family that have moved to Arizona. Like, where do I bury? We don't have any like it just felt so like I could not put those pieces together at that state. But I'm really happy with the decision that we made in hindsight. Yeah.
Good. So how has like being pregnant again been for you? And also thinking about and honoring Emerson, how have those two things like gone together, or do you feel like they've like battled each other at all? Like, what does that look like for you?
Pregnancy after loss is one of those things where it's like it has so much capability for like being this beautiful redemptive experience, but it also has this like depth of fear. That was a really crazy time. So it was really scary early on in this pregnancy, but specifically at the gestation in which we lost her, I just felt like I would just go about my life. We stay busy, but then randomly I would just be like, feel like I'm just about to freaking combust. Like I can't do anything. Like I would just shut down. And I was like, what the heck? I felt like I have like been to the therapy. Like I knew that this was going to be hard, but I felt like but to this point, I fully believe that my body remembered like the last time we carried a fetus this size, like this gestation, like what happened. And like there was like a subconscious part of me that was just like freaking out completely. I want to recognize that first and foremost, but I will say also choosing to like try to get pregnant again after losing, like I fully understood that we could get pregnant and we could lose the baby. I fully understood that more than I ever have, obviously.
Yeah.
And I knew the depth of that. And for me, it was still worth it. The 17 weeks we had her, worth it. And the potential of having a full-term healthy baby, so beyond worth it. And so in a way, I felt stronger than ever pursuing a pregnancy after loss than the times before. I was just like, I call myself blissfully ignorant before. Like that's when I was like blissfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember those days of blissful
go
ignorance.
back.
I don't like when people just focus on the growth, because there really is so much. There's a lot more hard than there is growth, personally. But I don't know if I would want to go back to blissful ignorance. Like, I think about it, and in some ways I would, but in other ways, like, I'm grateful for how I've changed. If that makes sense.
I want to get there.
Yeah. It was 5 years for me. And even still, like, I don't know. I was just talking to my mom, like, I'm turning 30 in a couple weeks, and I feel like I've aged a lot in the last 5 years. So,
yeah.
You don't have to, you can still be grateful and want to go back to the blissful ignorance. That's fine.
I'll do anything to go back.
Yeah.
But no, I understand that to some capacity. I think I'm just not as matured in my grief process. But like, I think fully realizing that like I could choose to do this again and I can lose again. But I'm still gonna choose to try to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
I felt in a way more rooted than I ever have, like pursuing a pregnancy. And I know that I'll never sigh a deep sigh of relief until this baby's in my arms. But I will also, like, when that baby's in my arms, like, that will be so much more than it ever was before, which is crazy to think about, because I think about those moments as like when my heart like exploded. Like, it's hard to think, but I'm just like anticipating that as being even more precious and beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. There's some people I look at and I'm like, you are just meant to be a mom. And I look at you and I look at how you are with your boys and I'm like, Abby is just like, she's just meant to be a mom.
You're so kind.
No, I feel like you're very intentional with your boys, with Emerson and with your future boy here. So I think you're a beautiful mom, Abby.
That's such a sweet compliment. Nothing could be more. So thank you.
What do you feel like people don't understand or don't know about losing a baby during pregnancy?
A lot of different aspects that I don't know if that answers your question exactly, but I'm thinking about like my time frame, like since losing her, is I feel like people have treated me, I'm so grateful that they have, but so cautiously.
Yeah.
Like I am like broken, like super fragile, and like I don't want to say anything that's gonna like hurt her. And you're like, do you know what I just did? Like, I'm strong. Like, I might be teary. Like, certainly I'm snotting and crying all over the place, but I was like, I'm so strong. Like, I could talk about it. I could sit here with your grief. And here's the other thing. I fully believe this as I was like thinking about doing your podcast. Some of my friends that were the most helpful to me have never experienced miscarriage. They have healthy babies and have never had loss like this. Yet they were the most, like, they were critical to me at that point. And so I think previously I would have thought, like, I cannot speak to a mom that has experienced pregnancy loss because I just might say the wrong thing, and I might like make them collapse, like make them so upset, or I just don't understand their pain. So there's nothing I can really say or do. That's just not true in my experience. I feel like grief makes you kind of want to feel you're the only one that's going through it. And therefore like your specific type of grief, like which it is, it's a fingerprint, it's unique to everyone.
Yeah.
But like you could only feel comfort or companionship with people that have that exact same type. And I just don't think that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I would approach a mom that has experienced loss very differently after experiencing it. But also I would say, like, even if you have never experienced that type of grief, like you could be like a cornerstone in someone's grief journey.
Yeah. How would you, like, someone you know now lost a baby during pregnancy, or child loss at all, how would you approach it? And now that you have experienced that and know what it's like, obviously in your own personal experience, like you said, it's like a fingerprint. How would you approach it with them?
The first, it kind of depends on like how soon it's been.
Yeah.
But like if I initially have heard the news, like something has happened, I would always reach out. I think before I would have thought like, oh, they need space, or like they might not want to respond to text. That was the case. Like I received so many texts and I was like, I don't want to respond to all these, but I can read them.
Yeah.
And then I got back to them eventually.
Yeah.
Like I feel like people are like, I just didn't want to bombard you or anything, which maybe everyone's different, you know, but for me, I would just like never want them to question like that they could come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, hey, this sucks. Like first and foremost, like this sucks. I'm so heartbroken for you. And like, honestly, like some of my friends that I called, like right after the doctor, like I called one of my friends and she's just crying with me. And I'm telling you, like those that cried with me, and like maybe we weren't together.
Yeah.
But like cry, like if they're like, I don't know, like I'm just so heartbroken for you. Like having that, like I think Dr. Amen says like pain shared is pain divided in a way. Like it felt so, like I didn't want my friends to be heartbroken, but like it felt like I could like trust them with my darkness, I guess, like my sorrow, like the depths of it. And like they would understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably cry with them. And then, but that's just my own version of it. But basically to say like, I'm not going to give you any platitudes right now to try to see the silver lining in this experience. And people that do that, I have so much empathy for them. I know they're great people. They're trying so hard.
Yeah, good intentions.
But the message that it was sending me at times, and I'm not thinking of anyone particular, please, seriously. Like everyone trying to help me is I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Like, but it was sending me the message like, I'm uncomfortable with your grief. Like I'm uncomfortable with it. So I gotta say something. And I'm not even gonna say the ones that people say something. You're like, I feel better. I wouldn't give those. And I would say just even the people that just like gave us a meal, like it gave me space to like, I didn't have to cook or clean afterwards.
Yes.
I just had space to like journal, go on walks, take a bath, like just like be still. And that was so important for me because I'm such a busybody too. Like the stillness forced me to like really process as much as I could at that time, like everything that happened. And so like I wasn't necessarily ready to have people come over and cry with me, but like just knowing that I could call and that people were gonna just understand that pain was so important to me.
I know sometimes with grief, I've said this many times, people, and you literally just said it, don't talk to you about it because they treat you as broken.
Yeah.
But I know for me, like, I love to talk about Tanner, but how is it, like, is it the same with loss during pregnancy? Like, do you like to talk about Emerson and like, I don't know.
I do. I find myself, I feel like early on, I really tormented myself with this question of like, how do I refer to my family now? Like, I have 2 boys. And then I was like, I don't feel like, I don't want to necessarily. So then I just gave myself, I was given the advice too, to like, you're allowed to like, look at the person you're talking to and be like, does this make sense to bring up like the, you know, all the details of the situation? Yeah. And I find myself more often than not, I'm telling you like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I have 2 boys and we are pregnant again, but we lost a daughter like last September. Usually it's women, or especially women that have had babies. Yeah. I'm like, you know, and then I will say so often, as much as it breaks my heart, like they're like, we experienced loss too at this point, you know? And so it's like, then I'm learning about them that I didn't even know that they had experienced miscarriage too. Yeah. So I do talk about her a lot, and I'm also just going to hold my, like, try to not judge myself if that ever evolves over time. It's still so fresh, like being like less than a year since this has happened, that I'm like, I'm probably going to talk about her more than like in the future. That doesn't mean that I like value her life any differently.
Absolutely.
It will just probably evolve over time, and I'm just going to allow myself that freedom to like talk about it as it seems fit at the time, knowing that my heart is always in a posture of like remembering and honoring her life.
Mm-hmm. So I have two questions that you can choose. You can answer both of them or just one, whatever feels more right to you. But the last question that I typically ask people with specifically on this podcast are like, what's your favorite memory?
Yeah.
And so you can take that if you want and decide what you want to do with it. The other question is how do you want to honor Emerson going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer both questions. That memory thing is probably the hardest thing for moms of miscarriage because you're like, it doesn't feel like we got that. Feels like what 100% of that was taken.
Yeah.
But just finding out we were pregnant with her was just so sweet, and carrying her early on, I was like, why the heck did I have to miscarry so late? Most miscarriages happen before 12 weeks. Like, why did I have to think that this was going to happen longer? Why did I have to have these options for how to handle this miscarriage? Like, I was kind of bitter about that.
That's
and
okay.
Then I was
that.
bitter about it, but I've learned to see also, like, I have learned to also feel like, I still feel bitterness, but I also feel gratitude for, like, I got to carry her for 17 weeks. I am very, like, I always tell Matt what our kids are like before they are born. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, my mom knows. Like, I told him, I was like, with our second, I was like, he's crazy, man. Like, you better be ready. And so, like, with her, like, I was like, she's very, like, I was like, this baby's so sweet and calm. And I was right.
Yeah.
So, I do remember, like, always saying, like, this baby is just so sweet and so calm. It was true. So I feel grateful for the 17 weeks I got to carry her and, like, be pregnant with her. For how we want to honor her, we have thought of, we're going to have family hikes around the area that, like, her ashes were sprinkled and talk about her. She's on my necklace. My necklaces are all tangled. But with all my kids. So I have my two boys, and then I have Emerson on here. And this was great for me because it's by my heart. And so, like, if I'm, like, really missing her, I can just feel her close to me.
Yeah.
And it's also really helpful in our conversations with our sons about her. And for them, we just say that her body stopped working. Yeah. And, I mean, that is what happened. Yeah. And it is also, like, it's clear, but also just takes away, like, they don't feel fear around that.
Yeah.
The necklace also helps, like, them see, like, she was one of them. Like, you know, puts her at that sibling level with them. And so we talk about her a lot. We have a painting for her in our house. We have a little stuffed animal with her name on it. We call it their Emerson buddy that they play with and sleep with.
Aww.
And we just talk about her, like, as a family a lot. I'm sure we'll continue to think of more ways to commemorate her.
What is the painting of her?
So
it's for her.
Yeah, it's that image I was explaining. Like, when we were coming home from the hospital, it's
rainbows.
Yeah, it's a rainbow over where her ashes are sprinkled.
Oh,
yeah, specifically, it was so sweet. My mother-in-law, my sister-in-law had an artist paint that specifically for us, and it's so beautiful. It's in our living room, and I look at that every day, and my necklace every day, and I just talk about her a lot too because I just like. I talk about my kids constantly. So of course I'm going to, like, talk about this experience too. Obviously it's, like, comes with a lot of tears.
I love that. I love that you do that and that you are so open with your boys about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a little Emerson sister.
Yes.
I love that.
And then also they re-traumatize me every day because I'm pregnant now. They're like, I really hope his body doesn't stop working. Gosh. I'm like, I really hope his body doesn't stop working too, buddy. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, bless their heart.
No, seriously. It's refreshing though.
Well, thank you. This is such a vulnerable, I mean, this podcast is so vulnerable, but, like, everything you shared, I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on here and share it. Because I know that there are so many people out there that have experienced child loss during pregnancy. So thank you so much for coming on here and being so open with what you've experienced.
I want to say thank you to you too, because when I'm talking about people that were like quintessential to my grief process, like the way that you like showed love and support during that time was like really only a way that someone that knows grief well, unfortunately, as unfortunate as can. And like your messages were just so like so full of compassion and understanding, and just made me feel like I always had someone that I could talk to and would understand. And your flowers were so sweet. I think about your message on those flowers often. You said, you can say it. It was so sweet.
Just that I don't remember exactly what I said, but I know that it was something to the point of like, Emerson, your daughter is in heaven with my Tanner.
Yeah, like Tanner is holding her until
you can hold her. Oh,
and then because of your daughter too, like that image was like so beautiful.
Until Tanner can hold my daughter.
Yeah,
yeah, I remember now. Makes me cry.
It was so beautiful, and that image is like something that is just like really clung to and cling to during like some of the dark moments. But yeah, like I can't thank you enough. You were so awesome to me, and also you were so vulnerable on our podcast, and so it just was a no-brainer. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
And letting me snot into your mic this whole time.
Anytime, Abby. You can snot into my mic anytime.
In your beautiful new studio.
Yeah, Abby's the first one in my Arizona studio.
So special.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.